Hello, this is Glenda, and today I will be making a Cinderella inspired soap. And I'm basing the soap not on the Disney Cinderella because that one is very much copyrighted, but on the actual story, well, one of the original stories. And I said original loosely because there have been accounts of Cinderella type stories as old as ancient Egypt, I believe. So, what I'm using is the version from Charles Perrault. And guess what? This container is not big enough for my oils and my light water. No bueno. So I need to transfer it all here. But anyway, the main differences are that I will not be using any of the Disney colors or anything that they may have brought to the story. So I'm only going by the guidelines from the story by Charles Perrault. Now, the Brothers Grimm also made a Cinderella, and I read it, but I didn't like their version as much. They're both the Brother Grimms and Charles Perrault are on the public, what do they call it? Public works now. And for now, let me check on the temperatures. The light water was room temperature because I made it about a week ago. So right now it is 106 since I did heat up the oils to melt. And the colorants that I will be using are Orange Vibrance Mica and Yellow Oxide. And I'm using a teaspoon of this, the mica, and a quarter teaspoon of the Yellow Oxide. I did mix it ahead. And then I'm also going to be using some titanium dioxide, about a quarter teaspoon, dissolved in some water. So I'm gonna blend to trace for now. Alright, I think it has reached emulsion. My fragrance accelerates, so I'm trying to just reach emulsion. And I'm going to pour a little bit for the top, which is going to be white. I don't need a whole lot, so I'm only pouring a little bit. That should be plenty. And then I'm going to add the fragrance and the color. So I mix the colorants and the fragrance with some safflower oil ahead of time, because that way when I blend it to distribute the color, I will also be blending the fragrance and hopefully get it all in one shot. And earlier when you saw me, I did put a colander for the light water because I had used some silk, which is this Tusa silk, and it usually dissolves in the light water, but in case it didn't, I wanted to catch any threads that might be there. Okay, I'm gonna make a quick blend on this. So far, I have not had issues with the fragrance. The fragrance that I'm using is called Cherry Almond, I think Surplus, by Brambleberry. And it smells like children's cough syrup when you're using it. It's supposed to get better after it's in the soap, so we'll see. And it is supposed to accelerate, so that's what I'm doing for temperature and blending lightly. Let me clean this up. All right, so I do have the white and I have the orange color. It's gonna lighten up a little bit, but I should be ready to pour this onto the mold. Now this is not gonna have any I didn't plan for any designs since I was reading that it might accelerate, so I didn't want to risk it with anything too complicated. And what the orange is going to represent is going to represent the pumpkin that Cinderella used to go to the ball. Of course, it had become a carriage instead of a pumpkin by then. And of course, by midnight, it will go back to being a pumpkin. So for a moment, I thought about making this a fall theme soap, since there is a pumpkin involved, and adding, using a fall type fragrance. However, I really needed to use this other fragrance because I bought it about a year ago, exactly, in September of 2017, and I still had not used it. So before it expires or is not as potent, I thought I should use it. And I figure it will go well with children themed soap or story themed soap. Okay, so once this sets a little bit, I'm going to add the white. I could have brought it to a thicker trace, but I think that should be fine. I could try to add it by pouring it on top of the spatula. Let's see. Yeah, it's not sinking, so I might as well do that. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. I've cleaned all of my bowls. So I've started putting some activated charcoal on this brush, and I am just tapping it onto the surface of the soap. The soap hasn't quite set yet, so at least that's good to know that if I do relatively low temperature with this fragrance, it doesn't accelerate as bad as I thought it would. So this is the part that's going to represent the charcoal, from the chimney that she was responsible for cleaning and making the fires. And what I have here are soap dough pieces made to resemble pieces of charcoal, and I'm just letting them fall in random places because this is going to represent Cinderella life, which actually the name Cinderella comes from cinder, which is another word for charcoal or whatever material it is that they made fires out of back then. And I chose this story better. I guess I chose this story because I found it nicer. The one by the Brothers Grimm, I think it is. It was kind of what do you call it? Very drastic. In that story, the stepsisters, in order to fit into the shoe, did some pretty crazy stuff, like cutting their foot. And look, one of the charcoals went there. So there, almost. Like one of them, I think, cut her heel, and then the other one cut her, I don't know, her toes or something like that. And then it was all bleeding and the prince apparently didn't notice. So it was the some little birdie that had to tell him that to look at their feet. And the stepsister did this on the advice of their mom. She said, "You're not gonna need feet or something like that when you are in the castle, or what good is it gonna be?" So I thought that was crazy. Okay, so while I'm waiting for this to set, I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to add gold dust mica, or this is called Enviro glitter, and also snowflake sparkle mica powder. And this is gonna go on the other side. This will represent the color of the dress of Cinderella in that story, in which it was supposed to have gold and silver, either colors or actual gold and silver on the dress. I'm not sure, but that's how they describe it to be. And it is interesting that Disney, for this story, stuck pretty much to the original, so there were a lot of elements from the story that you could incorporate into a soap without infringing on Disney's copyright. You just want to be knowledgeable on both, read the story, watch, I guess, the Disney movie to make sure that you're not copying any of the elements. So these are melt and pour embeds that I made, and I put the same gold mica that you saw earlier into the melt and pour. And this is supposed to represent like the gemstones from her dress. And it's supposed to be very glittery. I also have some clocks, that are supposed to be at the 12 p.m. mark. So I'm going to use some of those in some of the soaps. And I made some that are extra big that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. If I unmold it soon enough, I may put it on the side of the soap, like I may try to insert it, but we'll see. Alright, so this is what the soap looks like from up close. That's what the shoe embeds look like. And those are the ones that are in the pillow. So the following morning, I attempted to unmold it, and it didn't seem like it was stuck to the mold, and there wasn't any indications that it wasn't ready. So I went ahead and removed it from the mold, and to my surprise, the corners were very soft, like very, very soft. Some of it stayed on the actual mold itself, that when I tried to pick it up, it was just mushing. So I don't know if it had anything to do with the light water sitting for a week. Usually that shouldn't be an issue, or I'm not sure what happened. More than likely this will be ready to be cut tonight, and I'm just gonna have to fix those. The way I saw it, I just left it, and I just, since it was so soft, I attempted to put one of the clocks on the side, but then I didn't even cut it in half. I'll cut it later when it looks like it's more ready and it will not be all mushy on the corners. So I'm gonna cut the bars tonight, and then I will put some pictures at the end. And I'm curious to hear what your favorite story tale may be. If it is Cinderella, let me know. If it is a different one, let me know too. I'll be curious to hear about it.